Hello and welcome to Applied Hermetics with Rufus Opus. I am Rufus Opus, and this is Goetic Spirit Pots, an easier method of Goetic operations. So I'm putting this together because there's a lot of different ways to work with the spirits of the Goetia, and one of the easiest ways that I've found to do it is through the use of a spirit pot. So what exactly is a spirit pot? This is a spirit pot. So, um, yeah. So that that's a spirit pot. Um, yeah, so the spirit pot comes from the root work and hoodoo traditions. It's a method of putting a spirit in a pot. It's often a giant jar or a flower pot. It can be a flower pot. It's basically usually it's supposed to be about big enough to hold a head. Has bones in it from various animals that you might want to send out to do your bidding, and sometimes people if you have a human familiar spirit that you've worked with through your necromantic acts. I don't judge, and I don't pretend like I understand all that stuff or that I'm a master of any of it. But taking that concept and adapting it into a goetic operation, I put together this method, working with Aaron Leach and a few other people on the Solomonic Yahoo group back in 2000. I want to say 8 or 9. But anyway, it's the easiest method of working with a spirit that I've found. If you work with the Goetia for a long time, you're going to find that there are a couple spirits that you really like, that really like you, and you want to have them on call all the time. That's what this is for. So what you do is you get yourself a pot, a container, a vessel, anything like that. This thing right here. You want it to be about 3 inches wide, and it needs to have a lid. It needs to be about an inch or an inch and a half deep so it can contain various materials that are related to the spirit, including its seal. And the seal should be about 2 inches wide, so you figure it needs to hold a 2 inch wide seal. The seal that I use is copper here, but you can also use paper. Just put the herbs and I also include dirt, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. Inside the pot, and you put the seal on top of it, and you cover it up, and there's your spirit pot. Oh, you also have to put the spirit in the seal and the seal in the pot. So, yeah, it's not really a spirit pot if it doesn't have a spirit now, is it? Okay. All right. So, to make one, the first thing you have to do is obtain a container. And you do that by going out to your handy dandy internet. Over on Etsy, if you do a search for the word Pyxis, Pyxis, you get all of these really, really nice jars with lids on them. I really like this one. It's a nice little pottery jar that you can put your spirit seal and the dirt and the whatnot in. Have a nice little lid, and it can live there. It's all fancy. I really like it. The price on it, $22, is a good deal for a piece of actual pottery. Let's see. The other one I like is this one, which is $85. But I mean, look at it. It's beautiful. Anyway, other alternatives are these. This is what I use mostly when I'm making these things because, as nice as those $85 ones are, these nice inexpensive ones are even more useful. They have little screw top lids. They come in a variety of colors. This they say it's orange, but really it's this coppery color. Um, it's the perfect depth. It's the perfect a way to seal up the spirit so you can move them around with you. When you go to move, it's not going to spill. It's a very convenient way to operate. The one that I have over in the presentation that I'm showing, uh, the bottom falls out because it's basically held in with friction. And when we moved, it got jostled, and I had to gather up all of the lemongrass and whatnot and out of the bottom of the box and put it all back together. It was not very fun. I took that as meaning that he was not very happy. So the contents of this, the way that we find out what to put in here, you go to Agrippa, and once again, handy dandy internet. Go to the I don't have it open. Well, you can see how to get there. esotericarchives.com. esotericarchives.com, all one word. Go to Agrippa. Go to the 3 books of occult philosophy, natural magic. Now, to identify which, what we're looking for are the things that are under the power of whatever planet is associated with the spirit you're working with. If you're working with a Duke, like I prefer to work with, that would be Venus. You know that because the Duke's seals are engraved in copper, and copper is a Venus, and therefore the Duke's rank is generally attributable to things that are under the powers of Venus. So click on chapter 28, which says what things are under the power of Venus and are called venereal. Okay, so here we find the list of things that are under it, and it talks about everything from things that your body produces to tastes, metals, stones, plants, all those things can be found here. So my pot has vervain in it, and some violet, and some valerian, and some lemongrass, because Bune has told me that he likes lemongrass. And yeah, that kind of stuff. The other thing that it contains is dirt. So the kind of dirt that you include in a spirit pot traditionally in hoodoo is graveyard dirt. The reason you include dirt is because these spirits are going to be impacting the material world. You want them to manifest in your material world the results that they are described as bringing. Therefore, in their spirit pot, where they connect to this physical world, you want to have the dirt of the earth so that they can manipulate the world around them. The graveyard dirt is great for Bune because he's a necromantic spirit, amongst other things. He also has the power to bring wealth and to bring eloquence. So, wealth has to do with banks. So you get a little bit of dirt or some rocks from the landscaping of your local bank. Nobody cares. You just scoop up some dirt and you move on. Just put it in a little plastic baggie. Absolutely nobody gives a crap. And then the other place that you'd want to get dirt from would be somewhere that represents eloquence. A theater would be a good place to go, or an amphitheater if you have an outdoor amphitheater. The dirt from those places would be wonderful for public speaking and representing the kind of eloquence that is required or that you're looking for from Bune, the spirit. And then you create the seal. Here you can see a copper seal that I made. I ordered these 2-inch discs off the internet. You can find them if you look for copper disc 2-inch on Google. There's a bunch of suppliers that you can order it from. I engrave it with a Dremel tool. It's you don't have to worry about it being particularly neat and pretty. The spirits know what you're talking about, and as long as it's close to the seal, you can count on the spirit to jump in it, because this is like the spirit pot is like offering a spirit the equivalent of a penthouse suite, like a really nice place to stay. They're usually used to just having their seals drawn on things or tattooed on people's stinky bodies, and they're happy enough with that. But if you can give them a nice, comfortable place that smells good, that has all their vibes like just hanging out around them all the time, that you can put little things in, like a little chunk of coral that you find on the beach because you think it's neat, and exchange gifts with them. If you can get that for them and they can live there, they're going to prefer that every time over some teenager's body, in my opinion. Yeah, so you can make it out of copper. You can also make it out of paper. The only important part to remember is that you have the image of the spirit on the thing that you're putting in the pot. That's it. This is super easy. Now you want to put the spirit into that thing, and you do that by calling it using the Trithemian Ritual. That's what I recommend for everybody. It's simple, it's easy, it's direct. All you need is a table of practice, which is this back here with the 3 circles on it and a triangle and some symbols in the corners and some names written around the edges and some names written around the middle. And that's it. That's your table of practice. You can write it on paper. It takes about 10 minutes to put together. You're good to go. You have a scrying medium. You don't even need that if you're just conjuring the spirit. You can put the seal in the middle and say, "Oh, spirit of Bune," blah, blah, blah. But the actual conjuration techniques are in this Goetic grimoire, which was written by Rufus Opus. Highly recommend it. He is a great author, excellent, excellent person. He's kind, benevolent, and he knows his shit when it comes to conjuring spirits. And you should definitely buy this book. It's also in the Seven Spheres, his earlier book, and I'm going to stop talking about myself that way now. But yeah, I wrote these books. There's a real easy method of conjuring these spirits in it. It takes about 10 minutes once you've been doing it for a while. It takes about 20 minutes if you haven't been doing it for a while. It's based on the art of drawing spirits into crystals. If you don't have my book and you still want to learn how to do it, well, chances are my book is out there in PDF somewhere. But you can just go to back to esotericarchives.com, go to Johann Trithemius. It's the first thing, top left corner here. Go to the art of drawing spirits into crystals. And here you have the Trithemian method of conjuring any spirit into a crystal that you can get ready to go in 10 minutes using substitutions like paper, your finger, and a cup of water for the scrying material. Everything else you can put on paper. You replace the wand with your finger. You have a candle and a stick of incense, and you're good to go. All right? Seriously, this is the easiest traditional method of conjuring spirits I've ever found. It's contemporary to the Solomonic grimoires, and it is super effective. So definitely, I recommend this for sure. Yeah. So buy my book. That said, after you've conjured the spirit, when you get to the part where you say the statement of intent, what you're trying to do is get the spirit to get into the box. So you say, "Oh, spirit, I have prepared this box for you. Would you mind getting in it, where you will receive offerings of fire and smoke and libations in exchange for ongoing services rendered?" And you give the spirit a chance to respond. Assume it says yes, because if it says no, chances are you won't know, and repeated offerings to it would probably get its attention anyway. Even if it did say no, it might come back in later once you start giving it offerings, because that's what they do. They do work for food, and the food they eat are fire and smoke and attention. So instead of when you use my books, usually when you close out, you say, "As you came in peace, so go in power." Instead of saying that, you finish it with, "As you came in peace, stay now peacefully, and go forth in power when I have need of you." Now I just made that up, so it's not traditional. You can make up something else on your own that sounds similar. Just make sure that you're letting it know it can stay until you need it, and then when you need it, you will do the following. Working with the box. So say you need, so Bune is very famous for bringing money to people. Say you need $800 by the end of the month. What do? You go over to the spirit pot, you open up the spirit pot, you take out the seal, you light the candle, and you let the light from the fire fall on the seal. You light the incense, you pass the seal through the smoke. You put it back in this little box, and you drop a couple drops of liquor on it. And then you say, "Oh, spirit, I need $800 by the end of the month. Please accept these offerings of fire and of smoke and of liquor. And in return, please get me that $800 as soon as possible without harming me or my family or anybody I know in any way, shape, or form. Mentally, physically, or spiritually. Let no harm come from this rite. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, as you came in peace, so go forth now in power and accomplish my will." Now, the thing that you have to remember when you do all this is say it out loud. It's real tempting just to think it this box, but the fact is it doesn't work. They may or may not be able to read minds, but if they do read minds, they don't necessarily know that you're praying to them when you're thinking. They do know that you're talking to them when you are using your words. Use your words, magicians. Magician, use your words. Use your words, guys. Say it out loud. You can write it down and then read it out loud, or just say it off the cuff out loud, but out loud is key. Put the wind past your vocal cords to make that invisible crap in your brain come out physically in this material world and change the world immediately just because it had to hear you say it. That's an instant effect of your magic. But then also the spirits hear it and they get to work. It's a much more effective form of magic when you say it out loud. Okay, and that's it. That's all you have to do to work with the spirit pot. That's why I use them. They're super convenient. It is a much more efficient method of working with the Goetia than having to draw a 9-foot circle every time, say all the prayers, do all the things. Basically, this assumes that you've already said it, you've established a relationship with the spirit, and you're just reminding it that you need some help. So, anyway, thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was meaningful and effective, and that the recording was of good quality and I don't have to do it one more time. Thanks again. I love you all very much. Have a good one.